Penn State has officially sent shockwaves through the college football world, pulling off a stunning move by snagging defensive mastermind Jim Knowles from their arch rival, Ohio State. In a historic deal that makes Knowles the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football, the Nittany Lions are signaling that they are going all in to win a national championship next year. Adding to the buzz, college football analyst and broadcaster Joel Klatt also ranked Penn State #1 in his most recent power rankings. He pointed to the return of quarterback Drew Allar and the electrifying backfield duo of Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen as reasons for his bold ranking. The high-profile Knowles hire reflects not just a confidence in Franklin after a strong 2024 campaign, but also the university's determination to end their championship drought and bring home their first national title since 1986. But here's the big question. Is all this hype justified, or will Penn State once again fall short when it matters most? Will 2025 finally be the year that they break through that big game barrier? Or will the story end as it has in years past, with high hopes dashed on the biggest stage? I've got my take, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video to see what exactly it is. Let's break it all down, and by the end, you'll know whether I think Penn State's championship dreams are real or just another mirage in the college football desert. To start out, let's rewind to the end of the 2024 season for Penn State. A season that brought new opportunities and ultimately familiar heartbreak. After cruising past SMU and Boise State in the first two rounds of the expanded college football playoff, the Nittany Lions faced a massive test in the college football semifinals. A showdown with Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. For years, Penn State's Achilles heel under James Franklin has been clear, winning the big one. Time and time again, the Nittany Lions dominate almost everyone on their schedule outside of Michigan in Ohio State, finishing in the top 10 or close to it and earning New Year's Six bowl appearances. But the script rarely changes. How much longer can the university and fan base tolerate coming so close, yet falling just short of greatness? The expanded college football playoff gave Franklin's squad a chance to rewrite the narrative. They punched their ticket to the college football playoff for the first time ever, and silenced critics temporarily with 2 wins in the opening rounds. But with the relatively easy path, skeptics pointed out a lack of a true signature victory. The matchup against Notre Dame was their chance to change all of that. But just like Penn State and James Franklin have so many times, they didn't. Despite a golden opportunity to steal the game and advance to the national championship against Ohio State, the Nittany Lions fell just short in heartbreaking fashion. But this time it wasn't a classic James Franklin choke job. The coaching was solid, the preparation was there, and the team looked ready. The problem? Quarterback Drew Allar. The quarterback posted a dismal stat line, 12 for 23 with 135 yards. And with the score tied 24-24 and under a minute left to play, Allar threw a crushing interception. Notre Dame eventually capitalized with a game-winning field goal to advance to the national championship. It was yet another gut punch for Penn State fans. Yet, beneath the sting of that loss, there was a silver lining. This was a team that, in my opinion, should have won that game. They had almost every chance to. For once, it wasn't Franklin or his staff to blame. It was simply an off night for their QB. And as tough as that loss was, the future started looking brighter almost immediately. We already knew heading into this game that Drew Allar would be coming back for another season. And more good news followed as soon as the season ended for the Nittany Lions. Star running backs Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen committed to another season, as did players like center Nick Dawkins, offensive lineman JB Nelson, defensive end Deni Dennis Sutton, and defensive tackle Zane Durant. Dom DeLuca, the hero of the SMU win, also confirmed that he'd be back. Penn State also bolstered its roster through the transfer portal as well, landing standout wide receiver Davonte Ross from Troy. The first-team All-Sun Belt wide receiver and punt returner caught 76 passes for over 1,000 yards in his 2024 campaign, bringing a much-needed spark to the wide receiver core that struggled tremendously last season. With tight end Tyler Warren, 2024's breakout star for Penn State, leaving for the NFL draft, Ross's addition to this roster is a game-changer. That said, the Nittany Lions will feel the sting of some key departures, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Edge rusher and projected top 10 draft pick Abdul Carter, cornerback Jalen Kimber, linebacker Kobe King, and safety Kevin Winston are all headed to the NFL. Even with these losses, Penn State still retains a strong part of its core from last year and stacks up really well against other contenders like Ohio State, Texas, and Georgia, all of whom were hit pretty hard by the transfer portal. On paper, Penn State might just have the best roster in the country. And then came the bombshell, the historic hire of defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. Snatching the best defensive coordinator in college football away from Ohio State is a jaw-dropping move. Not just because of Knowles' reputation, but also, and you could argue more importantly, what it symbolizes. Penn State doesn't typically outspend its top rivals in the arms race of college football. This hire was a message. Penn State is all in. They didn't just land Knowles. They made him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the nation and weakened their biggest rival in the process. This wasn't just a hire. It was a declaration. Penn State isn't content with just being good enough anymore. They're putting all their chips on the table and going all in. As for Knowles' impact, he fills the defensive leadership void left by Tom Allen's departure to Clemson and brings a wealth of experience to a unit that already has championship potential. My guy Matty Fresh had an interesting take on this hire and the situation as a whole. So Penn State hires Jim Knowles with one goal in mind: to finally beat Ohio State. Let's say they do it. The story for the rest of history will be about Knowles and Knowles only, not the players who came back. I get it, win at all costs, so maybe I'm alone here, but that makes my stomach turn. It's a valid point. College football has become a war zone in the new NIL era. Programs that want to contend for a national championship have to make bold moves like this if they want to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. And yes, this will likely become the narrative surrounding Penn State's aggressive offseason. But let's not forget, defense has always been the backbone of Penn State football. Penn State already had an elite defense in 2024, ranking among the best in the nation. The addition of Jim Knowles doesn't just maintain that standard, it supercharges it. This move gives the Nittany Lions a better chance to finally clear that big game hurdle that has eluded Franklin during his 11-year tenure at Penn State. But still, by far the biggest weak point of the 2024 Penn State football team was the wide receiving core. It was virtually non-existent. Adding Ross was a step in the right direction, but they still have a long way to go. If they can't add more depth and talent to the weakest part of their team in the wide receivers room, they're going to have a lot of trouble making another national championship run. Which brings me to my next point and key factor, the general state of the offense. For the first time in years, Penn State finally has a competent offensive coordinator in Andy Kotelnicki. While he occasionally overcomplicated things in 2024, often abandoning Penn State's run game, their bread and butter, he's proven that he can adapt his schemes to his players' strengths and the tools that he has at his disposal. And with a star-studded backfield and returning QB like Drew Allar, the potential is sky high. But the ultimate question still remains: can Penn State change the narrative in 2025? Can they turn hype into hardware, or will the weight of expectations just crush them again? Here's my take on it, and here's why I think they legitimately have a shot at a national championship next year. In 2024, James Franklin coached with a level of freedom and confidence that we really haven't seen from him at his time at Penn State. Gone were the overly cautious decisions that frustrated fans in years past. Instead, he took calculated risks, and overall, the team felt more dynamic and cohesive. Now, heading into 2025, Penn State really has the perfect storm brewing. The top QB prospect in next year's draft, the best returning running back duo in college football, a defensive and offensive core bolstered by returning players from last year and top-tier transfers, and a new defensive coordinator who might just be the missing piece to their championship puzzle. On paper, this is the strongest position that Penn State has been in during Franklin's 11-year tenure. But as we all know, games are not won on paper. So now I turn it over to you. Do you think Penn State has a legitimate shot at a national championship in 2025? If not, who do you think is best positioned to make a title run? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss one of my future uploads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for watching this video. Like I said, if you liked this video, I think you're absolutely going to love the analysis that we did over the state of the Buffalo Bills right now. Similar to Penn State, they've been knocking at the door of a championship, a Super Bowl over the last 5-6 years, but they haven't really been able to get over the hump and get through Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Very similar situations, obviously the NFL, but if you want to watch that video, I think you'll absolutely love it. All you got to do is click on the screen and watch it right now. Thanks, everyone.